Last we left off, we started making an adventure together, me and chat. We called it the Dillhorne Adventure. It was named after a town in my local Crown Lands, which is the sort of center of Ariston, which is in my campaign setting in Atroxia. And we wanted to make a starter adventure for 1st to 3rd level, maybe 5th, I don't know, but that sort of early levels of D&D, all in a local area with a small village, a forest on the outside. In the first session, we talked about what sort of grand factions we wanted to do. In the second session, we made a town together. We made a starting town. We did a map, and we talked about who'd be in it. And in this, the 3rd video in our stream series, we're going to be making a hex crawl, and we're going to try and crook our fingers to make sure the players go exploring the hex crawl as they sort of venture out into the wilderness, and they go deeper and deeper and learn more about the factions going on. Welcome to Mystic Arts. My name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for 11 years. Hi everybody, how you doing? I started this one a little bit late because I was at a dinner party in a different town, and we had to rush over a mountain to get here, and then we ran out of gas. Our fuel gauge just went to 0. It was at 20 kilometers or whatever, and I was like, we're fine. We'll be fine. And then it went all the way down to 4, and then it suddenly just went 0. And we were sitting in the car sort of nervously gripping the wheel, going, oh my god, I hope we make it to the gas station. And then my flatmate calls me at 3 minutes before the stream is supposed to start, and he's like, hey man, you're streaming in 3 minutes and you're not home. And I'm on the phone putting gas on the car. I'm going, I'll be there. I'll be there real quick. And AB typed up a little message. So, hello, I'm here. Hi, everybody. I've been sick for 3 weeks. It's been awful. I think I must have had COVID or something similar. But it took me out. We had 2 videos that were supposed to be the D&D basic videos we did, how D&D explained in 15 minutes and how to make a character. They were meant to be Tuesday videos. We moved them over to be main Thursday uploads because I did not have it in me to record, to sit in front of a camera and record, let alone write a whole video idea. So I've been out of it. Luckily, we're back. I got a haircut. I still have my goth nails from that Christmas party I went to, the goth Christmas party. If you don't know that story, you gotta go watch the previous stream. It's not an important story. How's everybody doing? If you're new to this and you're watching the VOD or whatever, I'll make sure to put a timestamp somewhere on the timeline, but we're gonna start off by just sort of catching up with chat a little bit, seeing how everybody's doing. Hey, it's Private 13. Happy birthday, Private 13. I told AB, I was like, we can't delay the stream. We have to do family dinner, and then I have to get here because it's Private 13's birthday. So everybody say happy birthday to Private 13. Welcome back to reality. Yeah. We've been out. We've been in an alternate reality. It's not been good. Which software am I using? For what? We'll be writing everything in Obsidian, which is my note-taking software. If you're unfamiliar with Obsidian, we have 2 videos on the channel about it. This is one of them. There's but there's another one on how I get the look that we have, which is just the vault that Nax set up, and he's in our Discord, and you can download the full SRD vault either using the link in the description of that video, or if you head on over to the Discord, the Mystic Arts Discord, which is available to members and patrons, you can go pick up the SRD Vault and put it up into your computer, so then you have all of the 5e SRD available on your Vault software. What's the hex making software? We'll be doing this in Photoshop. There are plenty of hex making software you can use, but I am proficient in Photoshop, so that tends to be what I use. So I'm gonna start by setting that up over here. That may take a little bit of faffing around for us, but that's what else can be done? The air is the air. Hey, that's awesome, Mega Pancakes. Oh yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with the hex crawl we've been doing. I started a hex crawl adventure about a year ago now, a little more than a year ago maybe. And we did the excursion resting and underlined levels, and it's been really fun. It's actually completely worked in 5e, which is kind of amazing. So the process of just kind of going out into excursions into the wilderness and then finding loot and hearing about new dungeons. Basically, the idea being every time you go to a dungeon on a hex crawl, you then hear about other dungeons out there. So you go back to town and then you go searching for those other dungeons. Maybe you get a map or something like that. And as long as the dungeons you're doing are fun, they get you loot. Usually, that's enough to crock your fingers at your players and kind of get them. Hey, why don't you come? Why don't you come explore a little bit more? And you get to see, more dungeons. You do more hex crawling. Oh, that's awesome, Sedark. Yeah, I think I've said before, but I think that video is the one I'm proudest of. I'm working on a sequel to it. We just recorded a whole bunch of stuff outside in downtown Reykjavik because we're making a video about how to do cities. And I'm a little nervous about next Thursday's video. We haven't filmed it yet, and I'm still working on the script. So hopefully that one's going to come out all right. Because this week, ideally, I finish filming 3 videos so that I can... well, I say I can relax around Christmas, but the reality is that I'm probably going to be working on the zine, which is the magazine that the broadsheet, which we have on our Patreon, and it's kind of the main thing that funds this channel. It's the only reason I'm able to do this for a living is that we have a bustling Patreon where we do like PDFs and homebrew, my own homebrew setting, the Blackguard, which is sort of a interwar Victorian era flintlock fantasy by gaslight kind of setting. It's a lot of fun. The broadsheet always comes with an adventure, a gazetteer of a burrow in detail, and then some kind of setting guide. And next issue, the one coming out on December 31st, that issue is going to be featuring 4 subclasses: a wizard, fighter, ranger, and sorcerer. Is the Mystic Art household starting to feel better? Yeah, we're all recovering over here. AB's I think AB's entirely fine. I'm still a little bit sniffly. The Tarask video I recorded with I filled myself up with caffeine, and then I had a lozenge in my mouth the whole time, and we'd occasionally have to stop so I could go stand up and clear my head or something. It was rough, and my voice was all shot, and my face looked weird. I looked at the recordings afterwards, and I'm like, man, I look sick. I spend too much time looking at my face when I edit my own videos. It's not healthy. People shouldn't do that. Anubis Lockwood. Hey, that's awesome. I'm happy I could help. Yeah, we're all feeling better here. How are you? So we're starting a little bit late. It's quite late in the evening for me. So hopefully we'll all gather our senses over the course of this, and this might mean that there will be a part 2, or maybe not. We'll see how far we get. The idea with the adventure we're going to make is that eventually I'll be able to take it all and I'll be able to put it into a PDF, and we'll clean it up, and we'll sort of make stat blocks and magic items, and we'll tie it more into Atraxia, and that can be a part of our Patreon stuff. But obviously, if you just want to listen to what we're talking about on the stream and then make your own version of it, or use the stuff I show on here, you can do that for free. It's not going to cost you anything. But the layout and the art and stuff, that will become a product. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Q4 Resma. That's awesome. Yeah, that mini is massive. It is gargantuan. And we don't know where to put it right now. It's sort of been moving around the living room. There's a big shelf just behind this camera right here that I think it's going to end up living on, because I think it's the only surface I can store. Genuinely, we kept looking at it going, it's the size of Magnus's dog. It's huge. And it's made me want to put a Tarask in my game. I think I know exactly where. No spoilers right now. AB's sitting just behind me. So, without further ado, unless there is more ado, if folks want to talk a little bit more, we can. But we can also just get right into it. because we have a lot to do. We have to go make a whole hex map. Keep hiding it from each other in increasingly unhinged places. That's not bad, Samru. I genuinely think there are only like 3 places that can store it, honestly. Yeah, it's what the stat block says. Ha. It's so big. I don't know how good it is at being a mini. Like if I did an actual battle with it, I don't know that I'd be able to move it very much. Now what I could do is I could sort of use a non-centered map. So I put the mini on the table and I say it is moving from A to B. And it moves this fast. And then we put all your minis relative to it. So when it goes, all your minis move away, like down in the direction it's pointed. So it kind of becomes a centerpiece of a map. And that way I don't have to go move the Tarrasque around. Yeah, Phronix. Yeah, it's trying to hide a Mini Cooper. Alright, so we started late, so we're just going to get right into it. I can no longer be Daði from Mystic Arts. Mystic Arts. But I have to go become Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Subscribe to Dillhorne. D&D rules.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Welcome back to Smash.
Clearly
Pass.
agile, sneaky, intelligent, powerful. I'm on the bed already.
T-minus 5 seconds.
Dadi the Dungeon Guy.
Here we have my map of Atraxia, which is this large sort of continent, realm area. And over here in the middle, we have Blackguard, which is where the zine, the broadsheet, is set. And down here, 2 hexes south. These are 24-mile hexes. Now, tonight we'll have to keep in mind that there are 2 kinds of hexes. There are 24-mile hexes on the world map, which is what this is, and there are 3-mile hexes on the local area map. So we got Bastion over here, and then we got Dillhorne down here, 24 miles south of Blackguard. 2 hexes south of Blackguard, so that's 48 miles. And in the middle of that, we've got a bunch of forests and things. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of have to recreate this map. So I'm going to go grab this little box here, and we're just going to crop. Now, if you're not familiar with Photoshop, I don't know that I can really do a Photoshop tutorial. I don't think that's really reasonable for us to worry about that. But this is the crop tool. I'm just cropping in here a little bit. And we probably want to give ourselves a little bit of buffer space so we can see the nearby towns. And we're probably going to end up with a little weird map shape. Just like that. And move it around. And we're going to want the entire Ashwood Forest inside it. So the towns that are sort of fitting in here are going to be the towns in and around the Ashwood Forest. I'm just going to hit enter. Now, if I were doing this with my original Photoshop file, I'd probably be able to make it so that, hang on, why am I so in the corner here? Can I fix that? There we go. Less noggin space. I don't need to be that big. Yes, Digolus. Yes, we're turning the 24-mile hexes into 3-mile hex map. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people ask how I line up the hexes, how I make it so that the 24-mile hexes and the 3-mile hexes all kind of line up. But the truth of the matter is, I don't worry about it. I just don't. For me, there is never a moment where I have to somehow have the world map and then peel away to perfectly reveal the map underneath. If you're in that situation, then maybe you can figure out how to line them up. But I don't think it's really possible to make it line up perfectly. I always treat them as 2 different maps. You have one where you look at the world. That one is on the wall in my living room. And then we have another one, which is the local area. And they don't really have to talk to each other, right? So we got this map here. And we're going to need a 3-mile hex grid. So I would like to know how many 3-mile hexes are there in 24 miles? I'm really bad at math. About 8, okay? Makes sense to me. And then I'm going to have to find... Sorry, I'm going to search my PC here for a second. I don't want to spoil any future videos. So I have this like JPEG of some hexes. Oh, it would be better if I went to that hex website that numbered all the hexes, right? And then I could get a bunch of numbered hexes. Didn't I save that grid somewhere on my computer? So I actually don't have to worry about it. I probably did. Dadi the Dungeon Guy. Yeah. Don't judge me. If you had a theme tune, you'd be singing it. Loggers County faction map. Empty hex map. If any of my players are moderating in chat right now and haven't said anything, you have to look away because I'm about to open... I'm going to have to open a map. Actually, this one's empty. Road, mountains, train tracks. Hex icons. I would look away if you're one of my players right now in chat. You might see some spoilers. Hex icons, detailed gazetteer. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just gonna, instead of going back to the website and downloading another hex grid, I'm just sort of hoping that I can find the hex grid I used and just copy paste it. Because ultimately, fundamentally, as a person, I'm lazy. And when I can save myself a few minutes of work, that's usually violently worth it. So here we go. Here's the hex map. And I want to make this be bigger. Right now it's probably fairly small. What I like to do is I like to imagine that I'm printing this out. So I'll go pick a page size that makes sense to me. A3 paper is probably a size too small. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to double 297 is 594. 594. That'll give us this. So if I go to a print shop and I say, hey, I want an A2 piece of paper, I know that what I'm going to be sending them is going to fit within those parameters. And I'm going to take this reference that I have of the world map with a hex grid on top. I'm just going to plop it in here, and you can see it's tiny. It's tiny because the A4 grid is going to be much bigger. That's all fine. We don't need to worry about that. I'm then going to just switch off this and this and expand this one here like so. I know that there is a area here that we're not using. That's fine. That's all going to get cropped off anyway. So we're just going to crop it off like that. Crop. Where do I get the icons or the assets for the hex map? This is a set of Photoshop brushes. I don't know what they are at the top of my head. People ask me this all the time. What I do is I go to the video where I make a hex map. There's a video called like how to make hex maps or something on the channel. It's the one that came out a couple of days after the 3-mile hex video. I go to the top comment there. It's pinned. It starts with Henry CP something something brushes. Now I'm going to have a little bit of Christmas drink. Tasty. Now here's the hex grid underneath. This is from some website. I think I also talk about it in the video. So if you want to know the assets and stuff I'm using, that's all in that video. I don't remember them off the top of my head. Whatever tool I'm using It is tempting to think that you need the same tool. But the truth is, I didn't try all the tools and then pick the best one. I Googled, and I found the one that served my needs just fine, and I went and downloaded that one and used it. So, that's all it is. Hi, Hidden Icon Lay. How you doing? So here, yeah, Nax, Game Raven. When I line up, I mostly just mean the towns are 3 hexes apart and 24 mile. There's still 72 miles and 3 mile hex map. Yeah. So what I'll do here is I'll just sort of count this. I'll layer on the two. I'm in Photoshop. I've got one hex grid on this map. Get the other one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We said it was 8, so this needs to be bigger. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, it's corner to corner. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Needs to be even bigger. We scale the grid down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's about so, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, no. It should be from corner to corner. So it's going to be even bigger. I do this for a little bit. I wish I had a good, easy solution you can do. But sometimes it just means messing around a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if your players say, hang on a minute, the distances are slightly different, you say, the map makers are not, communicating to each other. They disagree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'll do. That seems about fine. Then I just sort of ish it, People don't want to hear that from a DM. I just sort of ish it. I feel it out. But hey, that is the truth. That is what I'm doing. Hey, Daniel. Well, that sounds lovely. I'm happy I could help. First run last Friday with my friends. How did it go? Bet they had a great time. So what we're now going to do is we have this map, and we're going to take this map here, and we're just going to make it real thin, right? Then I'm going to go scrolling through my brushes. It's good to have many brushes. Oh, this is from a set when I was trying Blackguard map techniques. I used to scroll from the bottom, but it seems like that technique is now dead and gone, unless I uninstall that brush set. Here we go. Here are some of the brushes I use. That was the city brush, so the towns are here. Dillhorne. Oh, good God. Oh, that's going to drive me insane. I might need to canvas size. I see. Image size. If we drop it down to 72 pixels per inch. Yeah, that's going to fit. So then I go nerd. So just then I realized the pixels per inch were too high, so I'm going to be able to scale that up when I go to print. That's fine. I wish I could explain to you why I know those things, but I went to school for graphic design, and that's one of the things I learned. It's the difference between, this PPI and that PPI and so on. And yes, PPI is funny. We can all laugh at that. So I'm going to go just put these towns down. You can see this one's in multiple hexes. What do? I pick one. This one's like here. Put it in a hex. Now the thing about the map is accuracy is important, sure. But usefulness is more important. So where I actually put it, it's way more important that I agree that it's definitely in this hex rather than that hex. So I'd rather fudge the accuracy a little bit to the other map and have it make sense. Now another thing you can do is you can just keep the other layer, and you could, so that So the stuff that I'm putting here is actually just from the other map. You can do that just fine. And then sort of cut a hole in the map and then have your hex map inside the area you're playing in. That might save us some time, actually. I might be doing this the more complicated way. But we're just gonna not worry about that right now and just make sure we get it done. Here we go. I think that's all the sort of little towns and things. So there's one over there. And again, you know, here's the river. So I'm just picking one. This one. See, it's moved 3 miles. Is that an issue? It's unlikely to matter. Because when we're playing in the Ashwood Forest, we're going to be using this map. When they leave Dillhorne and go to Smallford, they're going to use the world map. Right? And that's the idea that's going to allow us to not go insane when we're doing this, right? Do you run hex crawls in person? Yes, I do. What's your approach to mapping? They have maps. Do the players see the whole map from the beginning? No. Do I draw the content? Do I draw the content of the hexes as they travel? No. I tell them what's in each hex and they draw the content. They draw the map. That way, they make a map and they go, ooh, this is our map. I had posted a couple of pictures of what that map looks like in the Discord, but I can show you some spoilers. This is the map that I sent to my players, or I printed out and put in front of them, and it looked like this. And you can see here is the world map. You can see the towns here are too big because I didn't replace them all like I'm doing now. And then there's just a bunch of empty, you know, hexes. And I told them, you think this is all forest. But if my players are here, they have to close their eyes for a little bit. This is what the map actually looks like. I did this version of the map, and I have not shown it to them. This is my DM's version. It's got all the details filled in, like all the clearings, all the hills and rivers and stuff like that, and all the different locations. I'm going to close this in case one of my players joins in the middle of this, but they have this map and they fill it out. I say, in this hex, you know, it's forested. In the hex next to it, it's not forested. And then they have to, hang on. Ooh. They have to go, you know, draw that in. I try and, you know, clear it to them. You know, I'm not trying to trick them. I don't want them to actually make mistakes on the map. Yeah, like Nax says, it's on the Discord. It's in the Adepts chat. We should probably put it in a more accessible chat, but that's all right. I would love to go in here and grab whatever backgrounds I use normally. So it's this papery one. Oh, that's it. Okay. Paper. Very large. Shrink the paper. Very small. So now if I switch this off, we will have a sort of starting map. Now what I'll do on our icons layer, which is the one with all the towns, we'll go grab a brush. We'll go grab one of these tree icons. And we will put them in the hexes where we know the tree line is. Actually, if we're really smart, what we do now is we put a different layer and we say DM icons. That way, when I'm done, I can just switch off that layer and switch it on, and then I'll be able to print both. I apologize, I'm very belchy right now. It's because I'm having the Christmas soda. So on the DM icon layer, we'll start placing down the tree line. And yeah, I just used the same brush over and over again. The purpose of this map is not to look pretty. The purpose of this map is to be entirely game element. This is our play map. It's the thing we use to play. So if it becomes unusable because of how pretty we made it, or we make it so pretty we don't really want to mess with it, then we've done a bad job. It's not doing its job effectively at that point. You see what I mean? So I can also grab this here, more sort of dense thicket. I put that on. Bing, bing, bing. Just like that. And we plop them down all along the tree line. Now, could I put them here? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm trying right now just to represent the tree line. So why are we doing this? Because the players know, more than anything else, the players know the forest is said to be this big, right? So when they start hex crawling, they know the scope of the adventure is the area on the map that is covered in forest. If there was a big mountain in here, I'd probably put it down as well, because the players should know. So the fact that I've already called this DM icons is probably a mistake. Right. Close this here, close this here. So now we have something of a game map. We know that there are two sides of the forest, and they both have these sort of individual little bits to it. And the main thing we're trying to make sure we do is that the game is obvious from the get-go. The forest is this shape and size, so it's all about trying to make that be the game map. Make it be so that when they immediately see it, they know the scope of the game map. Now, they don't know what's in the forest. That's the bit they're going to find out. But they know there is a forest, and they know it is this big. And they know there's civilization all outside of it. So those things we're not messing with, right? Do I print my maps myself, or do I send them to a print shop? I send them to a print shop. My dad owns a print shop, which is why I'm able to have that big map on the wall behind me. I asked for my birthday this year, I asked to have him reprint it. And he said, sure thing, son, and just send me the new file. And I still haven't sent him the new file because I'm not done. And then he said, I still haven't given you a Christmas present. What do you want for a birthday present? But what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, I want the map. And he was like, okay. So that's how I'm able to do that. But for stuff like this, I just go to the local print shop. And the thing is, going to the local print shop, you usually find it's cheaper than you think. It's not that pricey, at least in my experience, the print shops in my area. They're not that pricey, and I was shocked by how little it costs to make something custom for my game. Now, I'm able to do this kind of stuff in Photoshop, but you can use tools like, Wonder Draft or Incarnate or whatever, and you could just, go to the print shop and say, hey, I made this, here's an email or whatever. You specify the size and the paper quality and stuff like that, and they'll ask you if they're unsure. And then you pay a little bit, and then you have a custom game element for your game forever. It's usually entirely worth it. Hi, Hanbio. What is the in-world reason? Why don't they already have a map? Shouldn't one of the nearby towns have one? Do they know the direction of these landmarks? The nearby towns don't know what's in the forest because the forest is dangerous. So when a little mapping guy is going to go in there with a little map and draw a little map of the area, he gets murdered to death by goblins or whatever, and he never comes out and never tells him what's in there. So the player characters have to go. The wilderness is dangerous. And there's plenty of historical periods in real-world history where we just didn't know these things. Like when Lewis and Clark go on their expedition, the white people in America didn't know what was out there. And they don't have goblins and dragons. So it seems entirely reasonable to me that a society just doesn't know what's in a certain place. And that's true of, if you go to certain parts of, even in rural America, they don't know where all the houses are, where all the people are living and stuff like that. There's plenty of reasons for it. You just say the wilderness is dangerous. And it's big. If it's big, dangerous, scary, I don't know. I want a hell of a lot more money if I was going into the goblin-infested forest, or whatever it is. I just want to know what the largest amount of mustard I've ever consumed in one sitting is. I don't know. I eat a lot of mustard. That could have been every day last week. Would I bother having a single hidden hex in the middle on the right-hand side? I'm going to have lots of hidden hexes. The Discord is available to Mystic Arts YouTube members. You can become a member on YouTube or on the Patreon. It is paid only, and that's because we sort of want to limit the amount of people on there to an amount that we can reasonably manage, because it's just the two of us. No, True Gilby, this is the right stream. This is the mustard stream. I'm going to redo those maps I did with the wrong brush. I told myself I wasn't going to be a perfectionist about this, but then I remembered who I was and gave in. So as far as anyone knows, it is at least this is the tree line. And probably we shouldn't have there be much stuff all the way up against the tree line. The tree line is probably, you know, several hexes deep, but we're not going to fill it in right now because we haven't decided what's in here yet. So I'm just going to plop down these trees here again. There we go. Now I have two areas on the map. And I'm probably just going to close our reference map. I think it's no longer useful to us at this very moment. So let's have a little refresher on what to do, what the factions are. Factions. Dillhorne people. The people we like. Mayor Hunters. Cook, the village elder. Gibby, the shopkeeper. It's a silly little frogman. Korash, storm crusher. Goliath, tavern owner. Meat, human town butcher. Rex, Flick, and Bryn, 3 orphan pranksters. Carlsbad, the dwarf, runs the singing hammer. Used to be the swinging hammer, but the W was scraped off the sign. That's funny. Hunting guild. Osmond, Pollyanna, and Mark. Hunter's Mark. That's funny. Corporations. Bad. Standard Pulp. Agatha Amok is the boss. She hates being here. Thinks it's beneath them. Doesn't do hands-on work. 0 hours in the field. Okay. And the Ariston Rail Company. Warlord Fighter. Yeah, they have a bad guy party. That's cool. Villager Vigilantes. Angry about their village being industrialized. We don't know more about these people yet. Big factions. Undead. Big bad faction of undead. There's an old battlefield, and it's risen again. New knight leader wants to conquer the town. The knight is raising an army. A mushroom sentience is controlling all of that. So there's a mushroom sentience of knights thing. Cool. And then the renegade, a rogue agent who broke free of the curse. Oh, right. So there's somebody who used to mushroom, but no longer mushrooms. Parent of one of the orphans, parent of Bryn. But they're all like mushroomy, so they don't want to go back to town. Cool. Wilderness. Druid Circle, Fae, Bad Wildlife. Druid Circle, Fae, Bad Wildlife. Unaligned. Goblins, Green Hag. Radigan Clan. Let's include some random encounters, like spiders. Dry water supply. Alright. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to turn this into an adventure. Right? And we're going to have to do that on the map. How old's the battlefield? Has the forest grown over it? Yeah, I think it's probably right. Yeah, Sadarka, I think Nax just answered your question. Christmas soda. Was this at one point a single forest and the folk of the dividing town cleared a path through it? Yeah, it was. The big nation that town belongs to cut a path through this forest to have a railroad that went straight to the capital city. So the forest people don't like that. They are mad. So, on this map, we're going to have to put Lorem Ipsum. No. Perm Aneth Marker. That's my font. That's the font I use in all the videos. Now you know. Druid Circle. Fae Thing. Bad Wildlife. Goblins. Green Hag. Radigan. Clan. Mushrooms. Overgrown. Battlefield. That's it for now. These are sort of our main things that we want to include. From our notes. Goomaster is imagining the corporations trying to harness the ghost army power to try and make money. So the thing with the big corporations in Atroxia is that they're very mundane. You could definitely run that. That adventure you're talking about, I think sounds a lot Eberron to me, and I think that sounds awesome. And I definitely have run adventures like that. But in Atroxia, I tend to want the sort of human villainy when I'm running the corporations or overreaching government or any of those things. I tend to like them more as being very mundane. They're just here cutting wood. They're going to cut this whole forest down if you let them. Wood's good. You can burn wood. You can build stuff out of it. People in the town, they need the wood. They rely on the wood to live. That's the source of income. But it's attacking the inhabitants of the people in the forest. And then you get the fantasy element in. The people in the forest don't like that. They are against the villainy of the thing. Really, I tend to think of the corporations and the government as being the East India Trading Company for Pirates of the Caribbean. They're there not because they're, trying some wicked evil thing. And even then, like, they take control of Davy Jones in the third movie. Spoilers if you haven't seen a movie from 20 years ago. But they take control of Davy Jones in that third movie. And they do it by pointing cannons at his heart in a chest. And then they order him what to do. They don't, build any machine to control his mind or have, like, steampunk tech to mess with him. They have cannons. They've got two guys with the cannons, the long 9 cannons, and they point it at the heart, and they go, do as I say. That's it. So that's sort of the villainy of the corpos. Yeah, I'm sorry, Max. It's 18 years old. The first one is more than 20 years old. If you don't believe me, go look up what Orlando Bloom looks like. Very handsome man for his age, which is a bit older than he was 20 some odd years ago. I would love to only be that much older in 20 years' time, but even still, time comes for us all. So we got these two areas, the West Forest and the East Forest. And I think the East Forest is where we're going to put a lot of the sort of interesting things. So I think the sort of first thing I just want to do is I want to put some stuff in the East Forest, and I think I want to make it feel different. I don't think that we should split the Druid Circle, the Fae things, the Overgrown Battlefield. I think all those things, the sort of bad vibes, fairy creatures and stuff like that, I think should all be on one side primarily. And then they have an outpost on the other side, and that's how we simulate or how we show that those two things are disconnected. We make the story of those two things be the disconnectedness. But the hub is all on the East Forest, and then the West Forest we make belong to something else. And I think the Radican is probably the sort of clear winner in this divorce here. So we're going to paste. Eat the paste. 30. 30. There we go. Hag feuding with a Radigan? That might be fun. Now the hags and the goblins we can sort of do anything with. We can put them on either side. I kind of like the idea of the hag being on this side, so it's not just Radigan. Green hag, Radigan clan, goblins. Put it back up here. Actually, can I get the overgrown? I'm just gonna call it battlefield, and then I can take it like that. Just going to make these slightly sort of see-through because these are not actually parts of the map. They're references for us. So when we are taking an adventure, what are Radigan? They're rat people. They're like Skaven. When we're taking an adventure like this, what we have in our mind right now is we have a main villain, right? We want the overgrown battlefield and the Druid Circle. You know, those are probably the two sort of main factions. I don't think the Druid Circle are necessarily all villains. I think they're interesting as sort of, you know, thinking about their vibe. You know, what are they, good or bad, or what is it? So we wanna take those two things and we wanna make sure that they're near the climax of the adventure. Now, how do we do that? There's a map and the players can go anywhere. So how do we take something that, if this were a linear adventure, would be the last chapter of the book, and the only way you get there is by getting to all the other ones. And this one is fairly simple. It's not foolproof. But what we do is we decide that the old battlefield is in the middle of the forest. We're going to go in here, grab a brush, and we're going to go find something to represent the old battlefield with some tower that we're battling over, right? Now, why did I put it in the middle? Why not put it all the way at the end? Well, they might go skirting around these outside towns and then go in. I don't think that's terribly likely in my experience, but players haven't done that in my world, in the big sort of hex crawl we're doing there. But they might. Now this, even I'm just going to put it one hex lower. I'm going to make it be a smaller icon. There, right? Now maybe it's too dead center now. We might sort of make it a little bit off. The idea being that they're going to have to go through large parts of the forest no matter what to find this place. Right? If they go to this town, they're still going to have to go through several forest hexes. And they'd have to know where it is, which, you know, at that point is fine. So this here is going to be our overgrown battlefield. Now what I did on this map is, for myself, I just put a little tiny font of it. So I went here, tiny font, lol. What is the battlefield of? I think it's some tower, right? We should name the tower something cool. Cool tower names in chat if you want to come up with a name for the tower. Otherwise, don't worry about it and just enjoy the show. Overgrown tower. 8-point font. Oh, maybe let's splurge for the 12-pointer. Let's get the American typewriter bold in here. At least that's legible. Well, it looks a little funky, but I don't know. That's going to be our old battlefield. So why am I starting with this? It's because I'm trying to figure out what the faction zones are. So when I'm making a big hex map like this, I want to break it down into what are the sort of areas of like zones, where are the factions located. I don't think they should be too close to each other. They probably should have some distance between them. So I want to plot those down first, and then I have a bit of a shape of what the adventure is. And then I start populating it with the sort of random other stuff. Word watch. Wordwood watch. It's too many W's. Why was the battle fought? I don't know. We haven't figured that out, Demon Cookie. That is beyond the scope of this video. Right now, it would be very easy to get lost in what is the history of this tower, who built it, where did it come from. We're not going to worry about any of that. We're going to take all of those thoughts, we're just going to forget them. If we have a really good idea, we write it down. But mainly we just forget them, because later on we're going to revisit every location and we're going to make it interesting. So right now, our job isn't to make the locations interesting. It's to make this map inspire us to keep going. Right? Areas of influence, Demon Cookie. That's a good one. Yeah. Spheres of influence. Yeah, that sort of thing. Canopy's Breach. That's awesome, Kieran. Yeah, Canopy's Breach. I don't know what that is. Yeah, it breaches the canopy of the woods. The Battle of Canopy's Breach. Yeah. Immediately that sounds to me like it has some meaning. It's not just the name of a tower. It's, you know, Canopy's Breach. Maybe it's a wizard's tower called Amber Lane. We can have it. That sounds cool. A wizard's tower called Amber Lane is awesome. We should put that in here. Let's do that right now. Because once we start sort of putting things in here that make us want to, you know, run fun adventures, then we're really golden. So I'm going to put a different icon down to tell myself that this is... Actually, I'm going to pick different icon for Canopy's Breach as well. I think I'm going to go back to that earlier taller tower one here. Yeah, right now we just want to get inspired by ideas. Because that is what we're going to figure out later. Right? Amber Lane. Awesome. So somewhere in here, there's a druid circle, and I think it's up here. So I think I'm going to put a little village hut inside the forest for the druid circle. And I think I'm going to put it sort of opposite Canopy's Breach, about as far away as I can get it. But it shouldn't be, you know, there somewhere. Fairly close to the entrance of the tree line, so it's reasonable that they'd be making contact with the players fairly early. And we'll need a name for this druid circle. Then we'll need to figure out what the goblins are, where they are. If I remember last time, chat didn't want goblins in here. It was me who was like, give me goblins. Give me goblins now. You know. Right now I'm just going to write down druid circle. And, you know, that's fine. You can always just keep moving. We're going to get a Radigan clan in here. So I'm going to get this big tower. Nerd. Sorry, I keep messing up the layers in Photoshop. Nerd. And a green hag place as well. That sounds fun. Again, messed up the layers. One of these days I'll learn. And notice I'm not filling every hex. I mean, we can spend a lot of time, we can fill every hex, but you kind of want the players to also be able to go into hexes and find nothing. If they enter here and they tread through this line, they should find nothing. That should be fine. That rhymed, and I did not mean to make it rhyme. Green hag. Subbiome. Yes. Swampier section of the forest for some reason. Yes, absolutely. We don't want all of this to be forest. We need to put in some other stuff. Which D&D druid subclass dominates the circle? That's a good question. That's a fruitful line of questioning. Yeah, Private 13 also said the same. Yeah, exactly. That's a good line of questioning. The Granite Grove. Do we think they all turn into beasts? I think that's cool if they all turn into beasts. Gentle Grove. Gentle Grove. I think it's probably a moon circle. You know, if we call it Gentle Grove, we gotta make it be nasty as hell. Nettle Rot. Yeah, the Private 13, I think it's a good name for the hag. We'll put it down on the sheet here. Hag. but we're mainly making sure that we're naming the areas. Moonstone Grove. Yeah, that's not bad. I like Gentle Grove. There's something, it's alliterative. Moonstone's not bad for the name of this clan. The Radican clan. I don't know what they're up to. We'll figure that out later. So we got the fur circle. Let's get some mushroom stuff in here. These are both done now. So I think we want to put some stuff around Canopy's Breach. That's the mushroom zombie thing. Gentle Grove, but they're cannibals or something. Maybe. That's not bad. Uh, we could put a little bit of a swamp around the hag, but I think it's probably better on this side just because it's a bigger area. So I'd much rather do like a swampy thing around Canopy's Breach. So like in the middle of this forest, there's a bit of a swamp. And right now, so at some point, when we sort of got a bit of a shape on this, you can see we got, you know, the big sort of pieces in. At that point, I'm no longer playing areas of influence, and I'm just playing Minesweeper. I'm trying to click the hexes where I think it would be fun to put something. Where I think, you know, there's nothing fun in this area, so let me go click here, and now there is a fun thing there. And that's what I'm doing here. You know, I now know that if you approach this, you know, if you're close to Canopy's Breach, you're going to see this tower. So you get to this tower, and then you should see these local hexes here. You can't see Canopy's Breach. That's okay. I could also put one like right next to Canopy's Breach or just here. But again, you can't see it. So, but then they might leave this one, go one here, and then they'd see it, you know? And it'll feel, oh, we saw it. We saw the thing. So just playing a little bit of Minesweeper. I'm going to start putting these in. I think we need a better icon for the Wizard's Tower. So I'm going to make it be more of a tower. Because these little things I tend to think of as sort of 5-room dungeons, you know? There's nothing big in them. I also think sort of shortly inside the tree line, we probably want to put some fun things. Because that's sort of where the players are going to be doing their starting dungeons. So we want to put some stuff in there. I'm also going to get rid of this and turn it into a bit more of a witch's hut thing. This here is now fairly empty. This here is similarly fairly empty. What you can also do, you know, but if you look at how many dungeons we're talking about here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 dungeons. This is plenty of space to do all of these things. We've got all of this here as well. We'll get goblins in here somewhere. So 13 dungeons. We might do one more. But I think then we're probably done with putting in dungeons. And then we're going to want to fill this in with some landmarks. So right now, let's think of where we're going to put our last dungeon. I think we're going to put it in this zone here. Something like that. And then we just want to put in some landmarks. And that's going to be our little flag here. And they're going to be how we sort of fill it in so that there's something all the time. But those things don't have to be dungeons. They don't have to be whole adventures. They're just a little, you know, thing that is also there. So what you could do, you know, put a little flag here. That might be a location that if you search it, you find something. So in the Hexploration rules, available now on the Patreon, I do have this thing where it's like, you can search a hex. And what I tend to use that at my table is you arrive in an area, it is obviously interesting in some way, but you can't find any obviously useful thing out of it. So you arrive in an area, and you can see there are a bunch of elven arrows sort of dotted around various trees in this area. You'll see one over there, and then, 10 minutes later, you'll see another arrow. So somewhere in here, a battlefield is, raged or battle raged some time ago. So you're trying to find out, what's in this hex, what's in this area. If you spend some time, you can search the hex and you can get a result. And then it becomes sort of a question of, what is the result? It's probably a magic item. You spend 4 hours, you get an uncommon magic item out of it. Or, maybe it's a trick or a trap, or maybe it's some puzzle element, and then you get a bit of gold or, some gemstones or a magic item or a clue. So that's what our little banners are going to be. And we're going to fill them all over this map. Oh, hey, Phil. How you doing? Bear Owl Den. Yeah, that's cool. I don't think I need to double press these. I think just one click in Photoshop. I've been double pressing most of these icons. So now there are still pockets where you can walk around and find nothing, but you're likely to be constantly discovering stuff in these forests. You know what I mean? So we want a swamp in here. What else do we want, folks? Do we settle the debate between squares and hexes? Hex crawl needs hexes, man. Can't do hex crawl with squares. That's insane. Listen, squares for battles, hexes for world exploration. What if there's one really big tree? I like that sound. That's gonna be one of our big flaggy things. So let's start naming things. Just start putting ideas in chat, and I'll make sure they land somewhere on the map. The big tree. Actually, I'm gonna call it Branch of Askur, which is the world tree in my setting. Can take you to other planes. What else we got? Why not hexes for battles? Because battles take place in buildings, and buildings have square walls and corners. Naiad Pond? Naiad's Rest? What is Scoopert's demise? No rivers? I don't think there are any rivers on the world map for this area, so there are going to be no rivers inside of it, unless we put in like a lake. We could put in a lake and then have there be a little stream from it, but no big rivers. Ooh, cabin. Brewing cabin. If you're worried about the legibility of the font, let me put your mind at ease and tell you that it'll be legible once I put it into 300 ppi. Grimroot, I like that. I don't know what it is, though. Spawns undead? I think that might be more of just like a location. Many Teeth Tribe. It's gonna be these goblins here. Oh, hang on. What I gotta do is I gotta take them all, put them into a little folder. This is a little trick I do to get them legible. Put a drop shadow on them, but you make the drop shadow be map colored. Put the distance just underneath them. Make the spread fairly high, the size fairly big. You can even drop the opacity a little bit. And then they sort of stand above the text. Abandoned mine. Maybe. I've done many abandoned mines in my time. I'll put it here at the back. Just because I'm a little less sort of obviously excited by it. But that may just be, you know, a me problem. Grimroot is a dungeon? Alright. Giant eagle nest. Ancient ruins, says Vertigo Ace. What should be in them? Spider nest? Yeah, we can do a spider nest. Ooh, hang on. Somebody said Moonstone Grove. We're going to put them here, and we're going to make the clan be something else. So these are part of the same Druid Grove, but they've been split. They don't like the fact that there are two wings of the forest. We're going to name the Ratigan something else. We're going to call it Rat Home. Sometimes simple is better. A lone mirror in a clearing. Alright, that's awesome. That's exactly the kind of sort of point of interest stuff we like. Doesn't have to be much. Owlbear's Nest. What's a leer? I don't know what a leer is. Abandoned village. Yep, that's fun. We can put them up here. Next to the abandoned mine. You search it, you can find something in there. That's good. Old Crypt. Yeah, Old Crypt is perfect sort of starting dungeon stuff, isn't it? A fairy spring? What's a fairy spring? Do you mean fairy spring? Arrow at Grey Stun. Sorry if this has been asked a bunch already, but what system for hex travel do you plan on using this with? I made my own system. I talked about it in my video on hex crawls, and I have that system available on the Patreon for Adept tier members, or for €6 in the shop if you want to pick it up. It's only a handful of pages, it's really quick and easy to use, and it's perfect for 5e and 5e dungeon crawling. Plus, if you become a member, you also get access to our broadsheet, the broadsheet, which is our digital magazine, and it has all of Blackguard in it, which is my campaign setting, which is a sort of interwar Victorian era flintlock fantasy by gaslight setting. It's like a big mega city in between wars. There's a constant sort of industrialization going on, but it's mixed with this fantasy element. It's kind of like Call of Cthulhu meets D&D. It's a lot of fun. You should go check it out. Every issue of the broadsheet comes with an adventure, a burrow and detail and gazetteer with its own sort of list of adventure hooks. The last one had like 12. I think these two issues both had 12 adventure hooks in the gazetteer, and then a third chapter with either some lore, or in the next issue you're going to get 4 subclasses. Alright, so hang on. What else was there? Fairy spring. We can do a fairy spring. I don't know what a fairy spring is, but that sounds cool. I think it should be more into the forest here, but there we go. These two should be something very mundane, because they're probably going to be the first thing you see. So I don't know what that is yet. Giant's corpse. There's a dead giant here. And this is going to be a bunch of red rocks. They're going to stick out of the local surroundings. You know, just these things so that when you're here, you go, there's a bunch of red rocks here. You go, oh, we have a look around. Well, there's nothing to find. Okay, cool. Bunch of red rocks. We can use them later to navigate if we get lost or whatever. Rat wall. I don't know what a rat wall is, but that's where it is. Listen, you put rat in the name, suddenly I'm interested. Logging site. That's all fine. Yep, love that. Filled all this in. Look at us go, guys. What should this beginner dungeon be? We have our crypt, our grove over here. We have our goblins over here. What's a sort of beginning monster that we just don't have on here yet, right? We got plants. We got fae. We got goblinoids. Do we have elementals? Giants? Can't really fight giants, but maybe. We don't have gnolls or Sahuagin? I don't know that we can. Kobolds! Kobolds! Yes. Hell yeah. Red Scale Tribe. Kobolds. Awesome. Barrel gnomes! Okay, first up, Rice Rice Baby. That is a beautiful name, and you should be proud. Second, Feral Gnomes. I want to play in whatever D&D game you're playing. That sounds awesome. Giant Beehive. I love that idea. Giant Beehive. But it's a hive of giant bees, so it's 3 words, right? Alright, we only got 3 points of interest left. No more dungeons. Oozes. Let's call this Sticky Puddle. Do. 2 more points of interest. We need 2 more. Grix. 1 Grick. Seder Party. Blink Dogs. Oh yeah, we were going to do more Fae things. Seder Party. Alright. Alright, so is there anything we're obviously missing here that you guys desperately want to get in? We could maybe squeeze in 1 point somewhere, but we got to be careful with that. Hey, Robot Viking, I have a name. Nature Observatory, don't know how that will work. Forest Hermit is interesting. Thanks, Phil. Zombie Horde, we'll do them at Cannabis Breach. I think that's it. So we wanted to do a swamp in here. Big ass swamp. So I'll just grab a couple of these little brushes here. DM icons. Let's close this group for a second. DM icons. Swamp. Swampin' time. Swampadocious. Now, what I don't really do is have any layer on the map, like on the part where the thing is, like an icon here, Grimroot. Presumably it's in the swamp, but I try not to put stuff on that hex. Swamp with a hag. I don't think we can put the swamp with the hag. We just don't have that much space for it to be like a whole area, because the hag is just... Like, we could do like 3 hexes of swamp, but then there's swamp on both sides. I think it's a mushroomy swamp. I think that makes sense. We can also put in hills if we want. So if we don't want it to be all, you know, we could put a clearing of hills. Small hill icon. Oh, I have brewing cabin in here twice. All right, last chance to get something something new on the books, folks. Poison frogs. It's got to be something that like a dungeon, not just one monster. Poison frogs. I think that's perfect for the brewing cabin, I'll be honest. Poison frogs. Elevation feels really important. I don't know. How would you do that, Demon Cookie? I tend to not worry about, like, because if you have elevation, you'd be able to see all the map, and then you're not exploring it anymore. Now you can go into something like Naiad's Rest or Giant Beehive, maybe climb a thing. Branch of Oscar you could climb, and you could get a view of the nearby hexes. Hollow Tree. We have the Branch of Oscar up here, though. We can make that be something else. Because I feel like the Hollow Tree I just want to do is the Branch of Oscar. I'll be honest. Dragon. There's got to be a dragon in the starting adventure, right? We're going to put the dragon in the library. And books are his hoard. Love it. All right. Now we're closing the book on this. We got hills, we got swamp. We'll need to put a lot of forest in here, but we'll be able to put in a little bit more hills if we want. I don't know that we should do much more than that, because it is a forest, so it would feel weird if we just didn't have there be a bunch of forest in the forest. You know? And it's okay if there's a default terrain type. There's nothing wrong with that. That just means that we are doing a forest hex crawl. Black Dragon. Absolutely Black Dragon if it's in the swamp. I think that's brilliant. I'm just going to fill this up here. And then we're going to have our hex map all sort of filled up of forest hexes. Now again, like you might go, oh, that's a lot of forest. But yeah, this is about hex crawling through a forest. So I think it's perfectly fine. You know, the players might get excited when there's something other than forest, they might go, oh, is this just forest? And you go, yep. And they go, oh, okay. And they'll be a little deflated. But that's okay. If it was all different hex types all the time, you don't get shape, right? And it doesn't feel as special. I'd much rather we go, you know, it's forest, it's forest, it's forest. It's swamp. And they go, whoa, there's a swamp in the forest? Whoa. You know what I mean? So that's sort of what we're aiming for here. So I'm just going to stick all trees everywhere. And then I think we have a pretty decent looking little hex crawl. I am going to make the forest come out a little bit more here because we have it on the town map. So I am going to stick it a little bit more like that. But I think that's starting to look pretty good. I don't have, so Demon Cookie, in my Hexcrawl rules, I don't have forested hills, you know, and unforested, and there are not that many different terrain types. So I tend to just keep things simple, and that way I can keep things moving. Because I don't want players confused about the distances it takes to get into forested hills or whatever. So I just say the visibility is 1 hex, because it's 3 miles to the horizon. And if you want to see more, you get into a tower. Anything more complicated than that, and I feel like we've started to sort of make homework for ourselves. And I don't really want to do that. So before we finish up today, we're going to write down all of these words. And we're going to put them in front of us. So that we have a list of all the things, right? Make sense? Would I put roads between the settlements and through some parts of the forest? Probably not through the forest, but I will put roads between all the settlements. And I'll sort of finish this up whenever I do a proper pass on it. But I think that's not why you folks are here. So we're going to save you the headache of that. But we are now going to go, I'm going to move this map here, but that means I can't see you lovely people. Huh. I can pop out the chat window. Click here. Yes. Minimize. Oh, that also minimizes the chat window. Look, here you are. Here's chat. But if I minimize Obsidian, OBS, okay, it just goes away. Well, that's deeply tragic. Now it's just Daði messes with chat. Alright, I'm just going to have to miss whatever you folks are saying for a little second while I quickly type up everything we have in here. Sticky puddle. Rick's lair. Abandoned mine. Spider's nest. Giant eagle nest. Satyr party. Grimroot. Root. Canopies breach. The library. And village. Branch of Askur. Gentle grove. Old crypt. Giant beehive. Oh, beehive. Naiad's rest. Brewing cabin. I feel like the stream would be better if we had a laugh track for when I make a bad joke. Lone mirror. Amber lane. Owlbear's nest. Red scale tribe. And then on the other side, we've got many teeth tribe. Red rocks. Nettle rot. Fairy spring. Rat home. Logging site. Rat wall. And Moonstone Grove Giant's corpse. There we go. I think that's all of them. Yeah, the blights will be random encounters. So we've got this list here. And this list here. And look, that's a lot of things. Now, I'm going to have to go sort them into what is sort of, this is what I should have done from the start. One of these days, you people are going to realize that I don't know anything. I'm just a big old idiot, and you're all fools for listening to me. Askur. So right now I'm just going to quickly separate out the things that are points of interest versus things that are dungeons. Quickly go like that. And then here I'm going to do the same on the other side. Nerd. Oh, I went to the Phantom. From broadsheet number 2. No, I'm not doing it again. You've suffered enough. I'll do it again at the end. Gotta tell you about my broadsheet. I am really proud of that broadsheet. I know I do a whole spiel out of reading telling you folks the stuff, doing the read. But I am really proud of it. We put a lot of work into it. And it's myself writing, and it's AB as well, and our friend Magnus. We're all professional writers. We all write for a living. We've got our friend Birna doing the art, professional artist. She does tattoos as well. East Forest. West Forest. And then let me quickly also separate out one more thing. Rat Home Nettleroot. Oh, logging site should also be here. And I'm just separating the, or sort of sorting more rather, the big dungeons, the big important dungeons, and then the less important dungeons. So, these things are all points of interest, so they're not dungeons at all. Things like the Abandoned Mine, Spider's Nest, Giant Eagle's Nest, those are at best like 5-room dungeons, things you can run just in the middle of, like, you can just whip them up. The Cannabis Breach and those things, they're probably also 5-room dungeons. They might be 10-room dungeons, 15-room dungeons. They're fairly small, but they are sort of the main story, right? They're the bit of the adventure where you learn about what the heck is going on. Gentle Grove. Canopy. Canopy 1, Canopy. And then you got the beginning dungeons of the Old Crypt. The Red Scale Tribe. Amberlane. All right. So the question now becomes how we move on from here. We have this big list of dungeons, and we have this map. And the next thing I think we need to do is go make one of these dungeons. Now we've sort of set up how we're doing this, right? We've got this big hex scroll, and we've got a map, and then we want to hook players into the map. So how are we going to be doing that? One of the main ways we're going to do it is when the adventure starts and they arrive in Dillhorne, all we have to do is we have to tell them, hey, somewhere in there is Canopy's Breach, but it's far inside the forest and we don't know where. What we do know is there are kobolds here and goblins here. Maybe we tell them there's an old crypt in here somewhere, and there's a druid tribe or something. Maybe not the druid tribe yet. We tell them there's an old crypt and there's kobolds and goblins. We tell them about those things. We say Canopy's Breach is somewhere in there, and there's a story, and we tell them the story. But then we say, hey, there's a 5-room dungeon of goblins, 5-room dungeon of kobolds. We don't say 5-room dungeon, but we say there's a small goblin tribe, there's a small kobold tribe, and they've been causing us nuisance. If you go take care of them, get them to stop. However you do that, we'll give you 100 gold. The players will then go to that location. They'll go to, let's say, the Red Scale Tribe, and they will learn where the old crypt is, they'll learn about the owlbear nest, and they'll learn about this wizard's tower. And now, one location has become 3 options. But they still have the goblin's lair. So they might go, let's not do any of those things yet. Let's do the goblins before we do anything else. So they go back across. They take care of the goblins, probably by murdering all of them. And then we say, now that you've taken care of the goblins, I will tell you that there is somewhere out here a hag northeast. And further northeast, there is a tribe of rat people. Now, where exactly are they? They might not know. We might just use directions like northeast. We might say 3 leagues northeast. And they might go, that's probably this hex. But they might go, it could be any of these hexes. We don't know. And then we incentivize them to go explore. And when they go explore, they go to, Nettleroot, and they learn about the hag. Maybe they talk to the hag. Maybe they go fight the hag. But, that's sort of what the pitch is. So they're always getting further into the forest, learning a little bit more. And every time they take one step in, they go do a little dungeon, and then they learn about these 3 things, those 3 things. You don't always have to do 3. You can do 2 or 4, but you should do, a small handful of new quest hooks. Because here's where it gets really clever. You ready for this? This is the trick. This is the main trick. Once they do the Red Scale Tribe and they hear about these 3 locations, they do the goblins, and they hear about these 2 locations, you then tell them about the crypt again. Maybe they go back to town and they go, let's go take a little rest. And then somebody says, I'll tell you about the crypt again. Now they have a list. They know that there's Nettleroot and Rathome, and they know there's Naiad's Rest and Amber Lane and Owlbear Nest. But you told them about the crypt 3 times. They're going to go to the crypt next. 100%. Guaranteed. Okay, there's a slim chance you show up with a crypt all prepared, and then they go, actually, we're going to go take a look at those rats. We were talking over beers 3 nights ago, and we didn't invite you for some reason, and we decided that the rats are the way to go. And what you do then is you go, good God, and you go to the bathroom, take a long break in the bathroom, take a number 2, or that's what you tell them you're doing, and you think about the rats for a while, and then you emerge having taken the longest poop in the history of humankind, and you know everything there is to know about the rats. But you tell them about the crypt 3 times, and they will all want to go to the crypt. They will want to go there. They'll be excited. That's the main trick. Now, what we then do is we design each of these locations. When we go, we're going to have to design all 14 of the dungeons we made, right? But we're going to design them, and we're going to put in quest hooks into the rest of the dungeons. We're going to say, hey, if you go here, there's a quest hook that way. Once you've killed all the goblins, you find a little map, and they have scribbled on a piece of paper. And you literally go grab a piece of paper. You go grab a pen. And you draw a little thing, and you say, hey, while you're here, and you're literally scribbling while you're doing this, you say, while you're here, you find next to the sword and the arrows, there is a little piece of paper where you can see that there are some bad goblin drawings. And they've sort of, crassly draw them on this piece of paper here, and you're going to find this little arrow thing, and then you show them something that looks like this. Little goblin, hag, rats. That is the detail of the map you hand them. That's it. Now they can look at this and they can go, okay, so there's So sort of northeast, there's a hag, and then more northeast, there's rats. And then they go look at this. And they can't see all these things. Their version of the map looks like this. And they know the goblins are here. So they go, okay, northeast, hag, more northeast, rats. Obviously, they're just going to start walking northeast. Eventually, they will go find something. Maybe it'll be slightly more north than they thought. Maybe it'll be slightly more east. But it's somewhere northeast, so they're going to go. Right? That's basically the trick. So you go to every dungeon. I don't know how often I scribble out a little handout, and I just make sure to tell them about some nearby dungeons. And when I tell them about those nearby dungeons, I make sure that one of the things I tell them about is a thing I have told them about many times before. Because the more often you tell them about it, the higher up it goes on their priority list, whether they have one written down like a bunch of nerds like my players, or they just have one in their head. Either way, you tell them about it again, it's going to go up in their estimations. They're going to go, oh yeah, we should probably go to the old crypt. We keep hearing about this old crypt. And if they still haven't bitten at that point, you start the next session. If you know they're wobbling on the fence, you've told them about it 3 times, start the next session, and you have an old kooky guy go, oh yes, I lost a magic sword in there. Oh, I can't find it. And they go, oh my god, magic sword in the crypt as well? God, let's go to the crypt. Right? And you hook them. That's it. That's the ball game. And over the course of that whole thing, they're going to have a map that looks like this, and they're going to slowly fill in all the details. Meanwhile, you have a map that looks like this, and you are ready to go. And I'll tell you what, if I were running this campaign, I'd be ready now. I have a town, I have a list of factions, and I have this map. I don't need more to start. So if you're thinking, oh, I want to start playing D&D, I want to start running D&D, I'm not ready. I'm going to do a lot more works. I have a watch later list of 28 or 100 new DM advice videos that I haven't seen yet, and I'm going to have to watch them. That's all horse shit. You have enough to start right now. And between the last 3 Dillhorne streams, you have enough to start. Between whatever idea you have in your head, you have enough to start. But just if you want to say, hey, I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to start playing, you have enough. Because this map, they're going to start moving between the hexes. You're going to use the exploration thing. You can go watch the exploration video and write down what I say in that video, and then you don't have to pay for the rules on the Patreon. Or you can go pick them up on the Patreon. It's easier, it's better. You have it written down and in front of you. But you can do it for free. And you'll then be able to grab this. I'll post this on the Discord and the live stream chat. The PDF and this PNG. Obviously, we'll do more work on it before I sort of turn it into a product, but you have enough to get started now. This is way more than enough to get started, because by the time they go to one of these dungeons, first off, let's be clear, you can make a 5-room dungeon up on the spot. They go to the Goblin tribe. Okay, there's a Goblin lookout outside, entrance. Once you get inside, there's a scythe trap, or there's a pit trap, there's a hole in the wall. Something that stabs players, makes them poisoned. Puzzle. Setback. Some goblins come along, like 2 or 3 of them. Not many, because there are a few, players. They go attack them. And then, you do a climax. So maybe there's a bugbear in there, or a hobgoblin. Maybe they're praying to a rat boss. So I'll invent a rat boss on the spot. Reward, they get some loot. Now, I just made that up sitting here talking to you folks. That's basically the Delian Tomb from Matt Colville with my own spin on it. You can do that. You can go grab the Delian Tomb. You can go grab any number of 5e dungeons if you wanted to, or you could just make one up. Entrance, puzzle, setback, climax, resolution, 5-room dungeon. You've got a session. And that session, I'm telling them about a few of the other options, and you're good to go. You don't need anything else. You can now just start playing. So I'm going to go put this up on the Discord. Come join us on Patreon, or become a YouTube member, and you can get an access to the Discord. It's going to be in live stream channel. Go put it up just before I go to bed. And you'll be able to go download all those files and use your own version of them. But we're not done with the stream. There's one more thing we need to do. Because while this is enough to get started, this is not enough for me to be finished making a 1 to 3rd level adventure. We need to decide what we're designing next. And we're going to design one of these 5-room dungeons together right probably next Monday, unless I have plans. Probably next Monday. We're going to design one of these dungeons together. And you're going to help me pick right now. It's going to be one of the most important dungeons. I don't know which one yet. We're going to do a poll, and you guys are going to tell me, you lovely folks are going to tell me which dungeon we're doing next. Which we're designing first. It's not going to be Canopy's Breach. We're going to leave that one a little bit. So the options are Rat Home, where all the rats are, Nettled Rot, where the hag is. Gentle Grove, where the druids are. Or Amber Lane, the wizard's tower. Those are the 4 options. And then once we've done a couple of them, we'll do Canovy's Breach. Or maybe we'll do the goblins and the kobolds next. But those are the 4 options. Which dungeon do you folks want to design next? Go tell me on the poll. And we'll take it on from there. How does that sound? Rat Home. Rat Home's winning. Listen, vote for whatever you want, but if you vote for Rat Home, you're my best friend. Amber Lane. Okay, Wizard's Tower. That's awesome too. We could do an awesome Wizard's Tower. And then Rat Home. I'll have to design some rats before we do Rat Home. Don't vote for Rat Home. I'm going to design the rats first. Oh no, Rat Home's winning now. Rat Home. Listen, I'll vibe with whatever. I like all of these options. Oh. AB's closing something. Alright, Rat Home's winning. Last chance, if you haven't voted, there are only 27 votes and there are 106 people watching. This is why we have problems in the world. This right here. No, I'm kidding. Well. Is this reverse psychology? It's chaotic psychology. It's called imbue with psychosis. Getting you. Alright, Rat Home. I'm hyped for Rat Home. Amber Lane almost won too, yeah. Sorry, Digglelouse. Is it like Legolas, but Digglelouse? Alright. And only 46 likes. Guys, you gotta like the video. Well, I haven't told them to like the video yet, Jonathan Frost. No, we'll do the rats. We'll do the rats next time. So, next episode of the stream, we'll be doing Rat Home. Episode after that, we'll do Amber Lane, and then we'll do another vote, since there's a bit of a gap between Amber Lane and the next few. So that means, what that means is people have an idea that excites them about wizards and rats, and for some reason, they're not terribly excited by the hag or the grove yet. So we need to make sure that as we do these two, we get excited about these two. Alright? That's the pitch. So join us next Monday, probably. This one got delayed like 4 times or something, for which I apologize. But let's... I'm sorry, Artemis. I'm sorry. Hey, Rachel. Welcome back. You were here at the start, right? Anyway, welcome back, Rachel. And that's where we'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend. And if you want to support us directly, come by our Patreon and pick up our digital magazine, The Broadsheet, where we put in all of this design work into the beautiful 50-some-odd page document available for Adept tier subscribers or the price of an Adept subscription. And if you're feeling especially generous, you might like the video, comment, share, or subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos. So until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.